will say, okay, just like you do your credit card, you slide it out, you slide out your identification card and you can get it. Because today, they just sell it on the black market and don't deliver services to these poor people. But once everybody's identified, then the aids will go to where it's supposed to go.
And this is all private funding that's going towards this
No,
effort?
this is a government agency, in fact.
Government agency, okay.
The name of the government agency is Unique Identification Authority.
Well, so this is a nice combination of kind of the private innovation that we were talking about earlier and the government working together to do something that everyday citizens really need in order to get access to services.
That's right.
Well, look at this latest study from the American Sociological Association. BBC News and Health is talking about how marriage and divorce contribute to weight gain. What kind of struck me about this is that they adjusted the data in this research for other life-changing events, like a person's health, education, employment, poverty, and pregnancy. But there was still an increased risk of weight gain associated with marriage and divorce, even when you control for all these other factors. In fact, the increased risk for weight gain was more for women than for men. In women, marriage increased the risk of a small increase in weight up to 3-point increases in BMI, 33%. There was a 48% higher risk of large weight gains, more than a 3-point BMI increase. So it was pretty high for women when they get married. For men, when they get married, they were 28% more likely to have small increases in their weight after marriage, and about 21% after divorce. So just something to think about in terms of how our physical selves deal with the emotional ups and downs of these life-changing events. You know, we often joke that once you get married, people are expecting you to put on some weight, but apparently this is a very common thing.
Women go on a diet. It's called a wedding diet. You know, and because they want to fit in the dress. And once the wedding is done, you're comfortable.
You let
Everything
your guard down.
comes out a little bit. It affects men a lot. Generally speaking, you know, wife cooks and husband sits down and eats and eats and eats because he really loves what she's making. That's why they say men gain weight. Marriage does that to you.
Well, I think as far as the data is concerned, the women are gaining more weight, and it happens with divorce too, which is showing you that it's not just about who's cooking for you, but it's about sort of your habits as well, you know, because I imagine you don't have someone cooking for you if you split up, so you never know. Well, in recent weeks, the eyes of the world have been on Anna Hazare, the activist in India, 70-something years old, gathering everyone's attention because of his protest against corruption and his major push against the Indian government, saying, hey, we need to do something about this. Let's have an ombudsman and an agency that's in charge of investigating corruption at all levels of government so that can really have some accountability in the Indian government system. Now, he has energized so many people, middle-class people all around the country, and young people as well. Who
Rich,
poor. Right. I mean, it's definitely crossed a lot of the typical boundaries that you see in Indian politics. And that 13-day hunger strike, that fast, well, it worked. It turns out that Indian politicians are promising an anti-corruption ombudsman, and India really needs that. But there's also a realization at the same time that this ombudsman and whatever agency will investigate corruption is not going to be enough. There is going to have to be a lot of institutional and electoral reform in India to curtail corruption at many different levels. So, you know, we can say there's some accountability that comes with having this ombudsman, but there are also systems in place that encourage the corruption and the breaking of the rules and the bending of the rules. And so I hope that with all the excitement of this, we don't just say, oh, check, you know, corruption's going to be over because of this one victory. There are going to be many more efforts and hopefully many more victories over the years to see some change.
You know, the Lokpal bill, initially when he started, I was kind of surprised. Kapil Sibal, the minister in the Congress government and Prime Minister Manmohan Singh's cabinet, he was the first one to say, I don't understand what you're talking about. You know, it's not feasible. Government can't do that. God, You know, and then again, second time they came out with, but who are you to tell us? You know, Parliament make laws. You don't make laws. You don't tell us. Well, that also went away. So Kapil Sibal went away. Then Prime Minister Manmohan Singh got in. And, you know, India is finally going to get the Lokpal bill, but folks, don't depend on it. It was supposed to be in the monsoon season, which was in July, August. Now they're saying, well, we're going to talk about it in September and pass it in November. Now, I have my own problems with it, but here is something that was so amazing. One of the requests from Anna Hazare was that you should be able to recall a politician who's not behaving the way he said he was supposed to behave, which is called a recall. In America, we have that, you know, and if even the president, if you don't like him, the Congress can impeach him. So this gentleman, this cabinet minister in government of India, he's asking a question, do you think America has that? Do you think in America they recall the politicians?
Yes.
Of course they do. Now, folks, this minister also said, because less than 50% of the people vote, that this should not be allowed. This is not feasible. You got to get the voting up to 90%, as if it is in his hands that he can make people vote.
No, doesn't it just show you how out of touch some of these politicians are?
They don't even know the language of politics. That's what bothers me.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that Anna Hazare asked, which I don't think is a good idea, he said we should be able to also say that we reject this politician. Now, reject this politician, why would you want that? I mean, if you don't want him to win,
don't
vote for him.
Yeah.
But he says, no, I want a rejection so that it should be a scarlet stamp on that politician, so that politician will always shut down and never run again, which I don't agree with. But I do agree with, yes, you should be able to recall a politician. I'm surprised they didn't have the law to begin with.
And I think so much of what has been interesting to watch in India is the democratic process, that when regular citizens started feeling like Parliament and our elected officials are not really working for us, they went around that system and found another like grassroots democratic way of voicing their opposition. And it became, you know, he became a symbol for that, you know, with his Gandhian tactics and people like, you know, saying that India is Anna and Anna is India. And, you know, it might have gotten a little extreme, I think, in terms of the personality cult around it. But the idea that Indians are getting involved in politics instead of just giving up and saying we don't have a say in how our government is run, I think that's the positive learning to take from this experience. And I hope it builds from here, that it doesn't just dissipate because of this one victory.
I hope they keep those hats on. That's it. I am Anna Hazare. I like those hats. Yeah. There was a Seminole scare in 2008 in Minnesota, you know. It started, FDA went after it like a sleuth, wanted to find out which particular food group was responsible. After going to a lot of people, they said, well, it is tomatoes. It proved to be no. And it took them 5 months to finally figure it out.